May 11, 1957. The engines were loud enough to shake the dust off ancient Italian bricks.
Northern Italy from Brescia to Rome, from the east coast to the west. Sterling Moss is one of the British drivers for whom this event has been a must.
Hundreds of thousands lined the streets, eyes wide, necks craned. Flags waved. Children shouted. Men leaned over balconies. Women gripped their rosaries. And screaming through the narrow alleys and countryside at speeds no one thought possible were machines forged for war, driven by gods, ghosts, and madmen. This was the final day of the Mille Miglia, the world's most dangerous, most romantic, most lethal car race. But none of them knew that this race would be its last.
The blood-red Ferrari crashed into spectators on both sides of the road. 9 people were killed, 5 of them children. The Marquis, a famous Spanish sportsman, and his co-driver Eddie Nelson were also victims.
Italy, 1927. A country reborn from ashes, torn by war, hungry for greatness again. For young aristocrats, Brescia locals, car lovers, dreamers, sat in a smoky cafe and decided the future of motorsport. Their idea was simple, insane but simple. A 1,000-mile race, across cities, villages, mountains, forests, along the spine of Italy and back. Not a loop, not a track, a road. The real world, with all its chaos, danger, and glory. They called it Mille Miglia, 1,000 miles. And it would become one of the most iconic races in the history of man and machine. From its first run, the Mille Miglia wasn't just a motorsport event. It was a national spectacle. Crowds lined the entire route, Brescia to Rome and back again. People stood inches from the cars. Cops didn't stop them. Politicians cheered them. Farmers abandoned their fields just to watch. The drivers? Legends in the making. Tazio Nuvolari, Giuseppe Campari, Achille Varzi. They weren't just racers, they were gladiators. They flew down cobbled streets at 100 miles per hour. No seatbelts, no safety rails, no helmets that could save them. Only raw skill, pure guts, and engines that roared like gods. And Italians loved them for it. By the 1940s, one name began to dominate the Mille Miglia conversation. Enzo Ferrari, a former driver obsessed with speed, fury, and legacy. Ferrari didn't just want to win. He wanted to own the Mille Miglia. Make it a Ferrari signature. And in time he would. In 1948, Clemente Biandetti, behind the wheel of a Ferrari 166S, took victory. In 1949, Ferrari won again. And again, and again. It was dominance painted in red. By the 1950s, car design had exploded. Engines were stronger. Bodies were lighter. Tires gripped harder. Aerodynamics shaved seconds. And speed skyrocketed. What had once been a brave 80 miles per hour on gravel was now 160 on tarmac. But the route? Still open roads. Still grandmothers crossing streets. Kids on bikes. Police barely able to manage the crowd. In the Mille Miglia, there was no separation between life and death, between sport and spectacle, between blood and oil. And in 1955, the world saw its masterpiece. Sterling Moss. May 1st, 1955. Sterling Moss, British, fast, fearless, stepped into a Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR with journalist Dennis Jenkinson riding shotgun. No GPS, no radio, just hand signals, notes, and nerves of steel. The two raced across Italy at speeds so high, even planes struggled to keep up. Their average speed? 99 miles per hour for 1,000 miles, through towns, over mountains, in fog, in rain, on blind turns. It was the greatest single drive in motorsport history. Moss won in 10 hours, 7 minutes, and 48 seconds. A record never broken. But shadows were gathering, and the Mille Miglia was running out of time. May 11th, 1957. The starting flag dropped in Brescia, and what followed was not a race. It was a stampede, a red haze, an opera of thunder and gasoline. 331 cars. From tiny Fiat 600s to raging Ferraris and Maseratis, each driven by men who refused to let the devil catch them. Or maybe they were chasing him. Among them, Piero Taruffi, the Silver Fox. 50 years old, calculated, disciplined, cold. He'd never won the Mille Miglia before. He told Enzo Ferrari this would be his last attempt. Ferrari gave him the 315S, a beast of an engine with no mercy and no second chances. Farther down the list, Wolfgang von Trips, German aristocrat, brilliant, fast, always on the edge. Then came Alfonso de Portigo, young, wild, charismatic, Spanish, a man who smiled in the face of death, and sometimes it smiled back. He too drove a Ferrari. His co-driver? Edmund Nelson, American, a navigator with nerves of ice. They had one mission: win, or be remembered trying. The route snaked through Verona, Ferrara, Rome, Florence, and back again. Thousands of corners, millions of risks. Every second mattered. Every breath counted. Crowds surged the roads. Kids darted out for a glimpse. Old men slapped the sides of cars as they flew past. There were no barriers, just people and steel. Drivers hit 150 miles per hour through mountain passes. They took blind corners at full throttle. No time to slow, no margin for doubt. Behind the wheel of those machines, the drivers weren't human. They were something else, something faster, hungrier. The Mille Miglia didn't forgive weakness. It hunted for it. Ferrari wasn't alone. Maserati had come to crush them with the 450S, an untamed rocket on wheels. Stirling Moss was back, this time in the Maserati. He pushed harder than ever before, but something wasn't right. The car was fast, too fast. It drank fuel like fire. It chewed through tires like paper. It was a beast with no leash. Moss pressed forward anyway. He blew past towns like cannon fire, hit the Apennines in a cloud of dust, and charged into Rome as the crowd screamed his name. But in that moment he knew he couldn't win this one. The car would never last. It was a lion too wild to ride. While others battled recklessly, Taruffi played the long game. He didn't burn tires. He didn't tempt corners. He drove with the precision of a surgeon. Through Perugia, he gained time. Through Bologna, he passed rivals. Near Florence, he took the lead. He was driving the race of his life, and the last of his life. As he tore through the countryside, the Ferrari roared like a creature possessed. Villagers swore they could hear it coming 10 minutes before it arrived. Old men crossed themselves. Children climbed olive trees just to watch him pass. By dusk, Taruffi was untouchable. But the race wasn't done writing its legend yet. It had one more chapter to carve into the asphalt. It happened just past Mantua, near a small village called Gidazzolo. Alfonso de Portigo was pushing hard, too hard. His Ferrari was near the limit. He didn't slow. He never did. Some say a tire was damaged earlier in the race. Some say it was overinflated. Some say it was fate. At 150 miles per hour, the left tire exploded. The car veered violently, hit a ditch, lifted into the air like a missile, smashed through the crowd. Alfonso de Portigo, Edmund Nelson, and 9 spectators were killed. 5 of them were children. The world stopped. Italy screamed, and the Mille Miglia died on the spot.